have 3-7, and then we'll look at part of the review for your test. We'll still have one more session before the test date. But you can take the test whenever you're ready. All right, so in 3-7, we have two formulas. First, we have distance and we have midpoint. And really, it's just knowing the formulas and plugging in. So for distance, and this is the distance between 2 points on a line. So you would need this formula. I'm not going to put these two questions on this test because I'm not interested in you having to memorize formulas for one problem. I'll put them on your test 3, which I'm not going to put in Honor Lock, and then you can have some notes. All right, so I won't put these two, but they are in the homework. So first is distance between 2 points. And your formula is the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. And I picked out problem 2 because this one you have more of a possibility of a sign error. So our points are -4, -2, and -5, 5. And I would just label them. So this will be x1, y1, x2, y2, and plug in. So we're going to keep our radical. So x2, -5 minus x1 is a -4. You can put -4, just don't lose a sign. Or you can go ahead and switch this to plus. So that is minus a negative. That's how I got to plus. So y2, 5 minus a negative makes plus, and we'll square that. Right, so we're still under the square root. -5 plus 4 is -1. And -1 squared is 1. This one, 5 plus 2 is 7. And 7 squared is 49. And so this gives us square root of 50. And they ask us to give the exact answer, not rounded. So they want us to keep a radical. We would just have to simplify if the radical would simplify. So I'll do that on this side here. 50, we could do 5 times 10. And 5 is prime. 10 will break down to 2 times 5. So we did have a square in there. We had a 25 in there. Take 1 5 out for that group and leave your square root of 2. So 5 times the square root of 2 should be our answer for this problem. Good. Any questions there? All right. So next I picked problem 3. I'm not really going to do it. I'm just going to show you how to start. You're going to use the distance formula on this problem, and you just have to pick your points off. So they've given you a line segment, and so your point A, get your coordinates on it. So it is 1, -5, and point B is 3, 3. And then plug into your distance formula. So that is the only thing to it. So we won't work that one out. And you guys let me know if there's a question. It's okay to unmute and to talk. It's also fine to use that the chat. You can pull the chat up and see it in a different location on your screen if that helps. All right, so next we'll go to midpoint. So this is the second formula we have, and this is the midpoint between 2 points. And I just picked question 4. And so you need your formula. And let me go ahead and write these points. So I have 5, -2, and I have 9, -8. So if we plotted those, the point that's halfway in between. So our formula is the average of the x's, and it gives us back an ordered pair. So x1 plus x2 divided by 2, that's your x coordinate, and the y's is y1 plus y2 divided by 2 is the y coordinate. So we'll call this x1, y1, x2, y2, and we'll just plug in. So x1, we have 5 plus 9, and we're going to divide by 2. Y's, we have -2 plus a -8, divide by 2. So 9 plus 5 is 14. 14 divided by 2, let me go over here, will give us a 7. And this will be -10 divided by 2 will give us a -5. So 7, -5 should be my midpoint. Between those 2 points. I thought I would go ahead and do the next one just because it has fractions, so that wouldn't bother you too much. So this is question 5. And we want to find the midpoint between 6/5 and 9/10. So that's 1 point. And -6/5 and -4/5. So the midpoint. Can write our formula. Average of the x's and the average of the y's. And we'll call this x1, y1, x2, y2, and we'll plug in. So for my x's, this one works out nice. When you do 6/5 and -6/5, that gives you 0. So we get 0 over 2, which is going to be a 0. And I'll leave some, I can come here and write that. I'm going to need some space to work on the fraction, right? And so I have 9/10 plus -4/5 divided by 2. Right, so on my numerator, and you can do this by hand or you can do it on your calculator, either one. Just make sure if you're going to count on doing it on your calculator that you know how to do fractions. It's not hard. And parentheses are your friends around each fraction. Okay, so to add them, first of all, you need a common denominator. So a 10 would work, and so this one needs a 2 on it, numerator and denominator, to make that work. So my 9 over 10 is good. So this will be -8. Let's see how much I can write. All right, and so this is going to give me -1 over 10 divided by 2. Now, I can't leave a complex fraction like that. So I can write it across as divide and it will clean up. Let me try it right down here. -1/10 divided by 2. Remember, that's the same as multiplying by a half. So you're going to flip it, change it to multiplication. And so this gives us -1/20. And that cleans this piece up. So 0 and -1/20. So the fractions were the part that was the pain there. At least maybe they made up for it with the 0 for the first one. Ah, what did Miss H do? Oh. I had a sign error way back here. Good thing I checked. 9 plus -8 is not -1/10. It is positive. So let's fix it. If I can get my eraser to work. So it should have been 0 and +1/20. It's okay to tell me if I do things like that, guys. All right, I'm not going to re-put the answer in. It was a sign. All right, next one I picked for you guys is a circle problem. There will be a circle problem on your test. It will be one where you have to complete the square. But we'll start out with problem number 6. And it asks us to write the equation of the circle in standard form, centered at 8, -15 with radius of 6. So this is a formula you will need to know. The standard form for a circle, I'll just use SF for standard form for a circle, is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And your center will be HK, assuming you're in this minus form. If you're in plus, it'll have to be a negative, right? So your center is HK. Your radius is the square root of this. So your radius is R. All right, so for problem 6, they gave us the center. So they gave us 8, -15 for the center and a radius of 6. So they would like us to plug in and give this formula, standard formula. So we'll plug in the x coordinate into the h. So we'll have x minus 8 squared plus, right here you have to be careful because it's minus in the formula. If you do minus a negative, you're going to have a plus there. So you're going to have y plus 15 squared equals r squared would be 6 squared is 36. And that's your standard form. I am just going to pull up the answer. Whoops, to the right question. Right, x minus 8 squared plus y plus 15 squared equals 36. So we're good there. So mainly it's just knowing the formula. Right, I skipped to question 8. Right, and this time they're giving us a graph, and they want us to tell the center of the circle, the radius of the circle, and then probably domain and range. So we can blow it up, okay, and we want to find the center. So the center looks to me like it's right here. So that is going to be -4 and -6. Right, just we'll make sure, -4, -6, that looks like the center to me. So, we can put that in, or we can just look at the answer key. -4, -6, good. All right. We also can tell the radius from the picture. All right, so here was our center. Just count to the outside edge. You can count in any direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So from the center to the outside edge is the radius. So radius equals 4. And let's see what else they ask. I want to keep the picture. All right. So this one should be 4. We'll make sure. Right, they want us to give the standard form of the equation of the circle. So you want to do x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So you're going to plug in. So we're doing minus a negative. So that is going to be plus x plus 4 squared plus, this will also be minus a negative. So this will be y plus 6 squared, and r squared, 4 squared is 16. So this should be our standard form, and we'll look at that. X plus 4 squared plus y plus 6 squared equals 16. Very good. All right, domain and range, and we're going to take it from the circle. And so I'll blow it back up, and you're just going to go across. So your leftmost point to your rightmost point will give your domain, right? And so our leftmost point is here, and this would be -8, and we are touching that. The rightmost point is going to be 0, and we're touching that, right? Range, the lowest point is -10, and we're touching. The highest point is -2, and we're touching. So we'll just double check our answers. -8, 0 with brackets, and -10, -2 with brackets. Okay, and hopefully we'll also have one where you work with the center and just algebraically you do it by the points. All right, let's see what I picked next for you guys. I picked question 10. All right, so we have this circle, x plus 5 squared. So they're giving us the form this time, plus y minus 7 squared equals 4. They want us to tell the center and the radius. Remember your form here is x minus h. So it's going to be -5. So for my center is -5. And this will just be a 7 because it's already in the minus form. Our radius is the square root of 4, which would be 2. And so that's those answers. -5, 7 with parentheses, good. Radius, I can enter that one. That's not too much trouble. All right, but it's going to count me wrong because I didn't answer that one. All right, and they want us to graph the circle this time. So you are going to use your circle tool, and you want to go to the center. So -5, 7, and that's where you're going to start. You're going to use a radius of 2. So you're going to go out 2 units in either direction. So 1, 2, and then click. And that makes your circle. Right? And they ask us domain. You can certainly do it from your picture since we had to draw the picture. If not, you can work with your radius, and you can do -5 minus 2 is going to give you -7, and we'll check it on the picture. And then you can do, this will be the range, right? So that would give you your leftmost point. Let me just go ahead and do it. So if you had to do it algebraically, which you don't here because you have the picture, but you would do -5 and subtract 2. So from the center, subtract 2 would be -7, and you're going to touch. And then you want to do the rightmost point. So you're still using the x. So you're going to do -5 plus 2. So your center plus your radius would be a -3. So let's check on our graph. So our leftmost point, yes, that is -7. Our rightmost point is -3. So we're good there. This should be the domain. -7, -3 in brackets, so we're good. And then range, you can do it algebraically if you didn't have the picture. So you would work with the y coordinates. So you would do 7 minus 2. So minus your radius would give us 5 with brackets. And then you would do 7 plus 2. So subtract your radius and then add it. And that would give us 9 with brackets. So let's double check from the picture. So the lowest point is 5. We're touching it, so that's your bracket. The highest point is 9, and you're touching it. So that is also your bracket. Good. 5 and 9. We're doing good? Do you guys have any questions? All right, and I am not seeing anybody in a waiting room, so we should be okay. All right, let's see. Next, I picked question 12. And this is your first one where you have to complete the square to make the equation. So hopefully you remember this skill. And so we have what is called the general form, and we want to convert it to standard form. It requires completing the square 2 times on the same side. So we have x squared plus y squared plus 6y plus 5 equals 0. So you're going to gather up your same kind of terms. So we're going to gather up the x terms, but I only have one x term. So this one, I'm not going to have to complete a square on because it doesn't have another x. The others, I'll gather up the y squared and the 6y, and I know I have to add a number to make this a perfect square trinomial. Okay. I want to move the 5 to the other side. Right? And so now I have to figure out, what do I add? It's the same thing we did before. 1/2 times 6 is 3. Square it is 9. That is the number we have to add to both sides. Now, this piece is a perfect square trinomial. Whoops, it's not x. It's y plus 3 and y plus 3, or y plus 3 squared. Right? The x squared is already okay. And here we have 9 minus 5 is 4. So this is standard form. And you can pick off your center. So this would be our first answer over here. We'll make sure it's right. X squared plus y plus 3 squared equals 4. The center, since you don't have anything else with this x, the only thing that h could be is 0 to give you back this. So our center is going to be 0, and this is plus, so it's going to be minus 3. Your radius will be the square root of 4, which is 2. So we'll double check. So our center is 0, negative 3. Our radius is 2. So we're good there. They want us to graph it. So we'll use the circle tool. 0, negative 3. So don't go over, go down 3. And then count out 2 units in either direction. And click. There's your circle. And now they probably ask us domain and range, right? And so we have the picture, we might as well use the picture. So your leftmost point is negative 2, the rightmost point is 2, and you're touching, so negative 2 and 2. Your range, lowest, this is a negative 5 and a negative 1. And you want brackets on both of those. We'll just check. Negative 2 to 2 and negative 5 to negative 1. So we're good there. Any questions here? All right, let's try one more of these. I picked 13. So we have x squared plus y squared plus 14x plus 10y plus 65 equals 0. So we're going to complete the square twice. We will gather up the x terms. So we have x squared plus 14x, right? And here we're going to have to add a number, right? And then we'll gather up the y terms, y squared plus 10y plus our number. We're going to move the 65 to the other side. And now we have to find our numbers that we're going to add. So we're going to take half of 14, which gives us 7. 7 squared is 49. So we're going to add a 49. And we have to add a 49 here. Right? Then we're going to take half of 10, which is 5. Square it, which is 25. And that's what we'll add to the y's. So we have to also add that here. Right, now we have two perfect square trinomials here. We'll factor. So this is going to be x plus 7. And we can write it as one piece. This one will be y plus 5. And you want to make sure you're getting your signs right, like signs both plus. Right, and over here, I'll just grab my calculator a minute. And I have 49 plus 25 minus 65. So 9. Good. They give us a nice number. So there is our equation of the circle. And that would be our first answer to go in. So let's see if I have it right. X plus 7 squared plus y plus 5 squared equals 9. We're good there. Your center, because this is plus, remember it will be a negative. So it's going to be negative 7. This one's also plus negative 5. Your radius will be the square root of 9, which is 3. -7, -5. Square root is 3. They would like us to graph. So we'll do circle tool. Your center. So -7, -5. And we count out 3 in either direction. And there's your circle. Domain, we can do just from the picture. So we have -10 and -4. And your range, let's make sure we could do this algebraically. So let's remember, so -5 minus a 3, we should have a -8 there. And -5 plus a 3 would be a -2. And then we'll check that. All right, so -8 is the lowest and -2 is the highest. So we should be good there. To -4 for domain and -8, -2 for the range. All right, I did pick 15 just to point out that you need to divide out the 2. So we can do it. Whenever you're going to complete the square, you do not want another number there. It needs to be a 1. If you don't have it, you need to divide it out. So they're going to have to give you something that will divide evenly all the way through. And then that will be your first step. So let me just write it so we have it in the notes. These are all even, so that's what should catch your eye. So we'll divide everything by 2. So 2, so I'll mark that here. We're dividing by 2. All right, so 2 divided by 2 just gives us x squared plus y squared. 2 into 4 will go 2 times. 2 into 16 will go 8. 2 into 32 will go 16. And 0 divided by 2 is still 0. So then you complete this square twice. So gather up your x terms. Whoops. And this is where we're going to add a number. And then y squared plus 8y. This is where we'll add a number. We're going to move the 16 to the other side. All right, so now we'll figure out what to add. So we're going to do half times the coefficient of the x term. So we're doing half times -2 gives us a -1. Square it gives 1. I'm going to add that here and also add it here. Then we're going to do a half times 8 gives us 4. Square it. 4 squared is 16. Add it here and add it here. Right? Factor on the left-hand side. So this time it's going to be minus. Like signs both minus. So x minus 1, x minus 1, or x minus 1 squared. This one will be plus, like signs both plus. Y plus 4. So y plus 4 squared. And over here we have -16, +16 wipes out, so 1. And then we can pick off our information. So our center is going to be 1 because this is already minus. -4. Our radius will be square root of 1, which is still 1. And I'm just going to put those two in and then let this end. Okay, we're good there. Center, 1, -4, radius of 1. So we're good. I don't think we need to draw it. Okay. You guys okay with that if I don't draw it? All right, I'm going to take that as a yes. All right, I want to switch and do part of the review. So your chapter test, and let's just talk about your test a little bit while I try to make this switch sections. I guess I can't talk and do two things at once. All right, so your practice test. Yeah, we'll do a teacher preview, and then we'll finish it next time. All right, so let's talk about your test a little bit. You do have 3 opportunities for review. You have, of course, this practice test. You have one that is in Blackboard in the chapter folder, and at the very end I can switch, but I have it on a different screen, so I don't dare do that right now. But it is the chapter 3 folder on the left toolbar, and it is reviews for chapter 3, and it will be review for test 2. And what you want out of there is the test review problems. So I will pull that back up for you at the end. I'll try to save a couple minutes to do that. I just have to switch screens that I'm sharing. So you have that one, you have the Pearson one, and I sent out the information for the ASC review or the recording. You can do either one. I don't remember when the ASC review is. It might have been yesterday. So anyway, the folder, the flyer is also under content in your folder. If you're doing the live one, you would have to go through that link. If you're doing the recording, I put the link in there. So I give 2 points if you do either of those. I don't give points for the one that is in the folder, but if you need 3 reviews, it's really good because it has videos to match the problems. And I give up to 5 points for this practice test, depending on your scores. So, other info about your test, there are 15 questions. Some of them have multiple parts. If you remember back to the section that has arithmetic of functions, and we did addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and domain on each of those. So that is one question. You will have a question like that, and it will be that many parts. Also, composition of functions. Those questions had a lot of parts. You do f of g, g of f, and then you also have f of f, g of f, and you could evaluate one at a point. So, you know, expect those two to have extra questions in there. I did put an hour and 45 minutes just to give a little bit extra time. I don't want time to be an issue for your test. I would rather you have enough time. It will go through honor log like last time. Also, it's very important to make sure that you write out your work. I do review that when I look at the test, and if you have some good work there, you get some extra points back. If it's a small error. So keep in mind, I'm going to look at that. So number your problems, and just keep it so I can read it. Don't go type it or anything like that. Just scan it afterwards. Don't change the answers afterwards, because I need to see what you originally put, not what you thought about later and changed it. Give me the original. It's okay to keep a copy of those because they won't let me release the tests anymore. but I will tell you every time which questions you miss if you want to know. So keep your work. You're just going to scan it. If you don't know how to scan, make sure you learn. Genius Scan is the app I would recommend because it's so easy. Even Miss H can do it. So anyway, so that will be your test. I think it's open till the 20th. So we'll have one more session before then, and we'll finish up this review or whatever anybody wants to ask. That's all we'll have next time. Do you guys have any questions right now about the test? All right, I don't see any questions popping up, so I think we'll just keep going with this review. So I picked out question 2, and this one has a bunch of pictures with the vertical line test to tell if something's a function. So this is really just a reminder. And so if you can draw a vertical line anywhere on it and it doesn't touch more than one point, then yes, it's a function. So this first one is a function. Oops, guess I can't use that. That's okay. This second one, this is a function. Vertical line through it is okay. The third one is not a function. It's going to hit in 2 spots. So this is really just a reminder. This one is a function. That is a periodic function. And if you take trig, you will have a bunch of those to work on. This is a function. This one is not, because you can draw a vertical line and it's going to hit more than one spot. Right, and so that's the end of that question. I'm not even going to submit on it. Want to go ahead and mention, because I didn't see it in there anywhere, but remember also the horizontal line test, and that test is to tell if it is 1-to-1, which means you can find it inverse. So you can be asked the question in different ways. Is it a 1-to-1 function or is it invertible? Means you can do the horizontal line test and it would not cross. So just a quick example, this one, even though it's a function, it is not 1-to-1. So this would not, it breaks the horizontal line test. No inverse on that one. All right, so that's vertical and horizontal line test. Next, I went to question 8 because it covers, it's one of those with a lot of parts, and I did put this kind of question on your test. It covers all those characteristics of the graph. So we definitely want to do this one, and I made it worth more. So each part I put worth 1, and so just a normal question that's by itself would be worth 3 points. So these are going to be worth a lot more because they have so many parts. All right, so the graph of this is given by this picture, and they want to know the domain. So, and this is question 8. So domain goes forever to the left, so this will be -infinity, and this end goes forever to the right, so it goes to +infinity. Right? Range, lowest point, it does have a lowest point, which is 2. I'm looking over here, and it touches that 2. It goes up forever, so that will be to +infinity with a parentheses. So -infinity to +infinity, and 2 to infinity. I'll just scroll down and back to get the questions. All right, X-intercepts, Y-intercepts. Whoops. Next, X-intercepts. This one doesn't cross the X-axis, right? X-axis is down here, so does not exist. Y-intercepts, there is one right here at 6. And then I think it asks increasing and decreasing. Can check these while we're here. Does not exist. And 6. All right. Increasing, decreasing, and constant. And we're supposed to write these in interval notation. So increasing, and you have to watch your pictures because some of them have multiple pieces that are doing that. So increasing is here. And when you're doing increasing, decreasing, and constant, you always use parentheses. So it is increasing from 2 to infinity. It is decreasing from, you're using x values, so it is 0 to 2 is the only section where this one is going down. And it is constant from negative infinity to 0. Oops. So we'll just put those in, or we'll just check them. All right, increasing 2 to infinity, decreasing 0 to 2, constant negative infinity to 0. Just keep an eye out because sometimes your pictures have more than one. Right, next we're going to do relative min and relative max. And remember, you have a question about where it is. That will be the x value. And they even give you more of a clue, any x value for which it has a, right, first question is minimum. And then the value, that will be the y coordinate. So go back up. All right, so we do have a relative minimum, which is right here. It is at 2. And the value of it is also 2, but it's the y. So this is the y coordinate, this is the x. Where is it? Is x. The value of it is the y. This one does not have a relative max because you don't ever use an endpoint. So the relative max does not exist. So relative minimum, I said, is 2. The value of it was also 2 just because of where it landed. This one, the relative max, there is not one, and so there's not going to be one here. Next question, ask us to find f of negative 1. And then they ask us to find the x for which f of x equals 2. All right, and the last one is odd either or neither. All right, so let's see the picture good. So f of negative 1, when x is negative 1, what is y? So x is negative 1 is right here. The y value is 6. It's in that constant region. Right? Find x when, if you get stuck here, remember f of x is y. When y is 2, which is here, what is x? It is that relative min. So it is also 2. Right? And then that last question, odd, even, or neither. This one is neither. To be even, it's going to flip across the y-axis. To be odd, it would rotate 180 degrees and give you the same picture. This one is neither. So we'll just verify those answers real quick. Right, so f of negative 1 we said is 6. The x when f of x is 2 is 2. This one is neither. So we're good there. All right, we're good on time. We'll do a couple more. So 9, I picked this one. I'm gonna need more of that graph. So let's see, get a new page here. And all right, so this one is good because it's going to show you more than one increasing and decreasing interval. So that is why I picked this one. So first of all, it asks us about increasing. And so this piece is increasing from negative infinity to, let's see, -1, -2, -3, this is -4, this is a -5. So from negative infinity to -5, because you use the x values and use parentheses, all right? And then it's decreasing, then it's constant. Here it's increasing again. So you'll use a union, and it starts again at 0, because you want the x coordinate, up to 1, right? And then at 1, it's going to be constant. Descending, so that's the first one. Decreasing is this one, and that's the only decreasing I see. So it is from -5 to -3. And then constant, there are two constant ones. So this little tiny one, which is -3 to 0, union 1 to infinity. All right, and we'll see if I have the answers right. So this one, negative infinity to -5, union 0 to 1, -5, -3, where it is constant, -3, 0, and 1 to infinity. And the other questions are domain and range. So domain, it's going forever to the left, it's going forever to the right. So domain is negative infinity to positive infinity. And range will be the lowest to highest. It goes down forever. So that will come from negative infinity, but it is going to have a limit up here at the top. It's not going to go higher than 8. That is going to be the highest point. Now, domain and range, you can use brackets on if you touch the point. So we touch the 8. It's increasing and decreasing where you always use parentheses. So let's just double check. This one, it's everything, and this one is negative infinity to 8, and the 8 gets a bracket. Right, we'll do just one more real quick. And I picked this one to just give you some examples from pictures, whether it's odd, even, or neither. And the first one, this is even, because it's the same picture on the left of the y-axis as it is on the right. So this one is going to be even. Right, and I could have just checked that. Right, our next one, this is an example of an odd one because it's through the origin, and if we rotate it 180 degrees, it would move this piece down here and this piece up here. It would give back the exact same picture. So this one is odd. This one is also a cubic, but it's not going to be either because it's not at the origin. So if you rotate it, it's going to be lopsided, right? Because it is the cube that will give you the odd, but this one's going to be neither, just because it's moved up some. And there we go. Let's see, we did 12. I'll hold off on that piecewise function on 13. We'll start with that next time. All right, so thank you guys for coming. I'm glad you could get in. I hope the sound was good. And you guys have a great day and start working on this review. Let me know if you have any questions. All right, just be sure to send those to me. Thanks again for coming.